Hello, so we talked about the terrestrial planets from the sun all the way to the asteroid belt. Today we're going to talk about the gas giants or our Jovian planets. The last four planets are called the outer planets or gas giants. They're very big and very far away. They are not solid because they're made up of gas. So the first planet we're going to talk about is Jupiter. Jupiter is the fifth planet from the sun. It sits outside of our asteroid belt. It is the largest of all planets, so big that all of the other planets in our solar system could easily fit inside of it. Jupiter is an enormous ball of gas, mostly hydrogen and helium. Jupiter's got a great red spot that's a giant storm. It has 63 moons. That is a lot of moons. As far as the revolutions and the rotations of Jupiter, it takes 11 Earth years for Jupiter to orbit around the sun. But while it takes 11 years to orbit around it, it has the fastest rotation. So it has the fastest day. It also has barely visible rings that are made of dust, kind of like Saturn, only they're not very visible. They're just real subtle. So Jupiter, of its 63 moons, there are 4 that are called the Galilean moons, and they're the 4 largest and brightest moons of Jupiter, and they were all discovered by Galileo. The first one, Ion, is the closest large moon to Jupiter, most volcanically active object in our whole solar system. Europa surface is an icy crust covering an ocean of salty water. They think that there's a possibility of life in this salty ocean. Ganymede is the largest moon in our whole solar system. It has an iron core that produces a magnetic field. Its surface is an icy crust. Castillo is a small rocky core and a thick icy mantle. It's the darkest of the Galilean moons, but twice as bright as our moon still. It is the most heavily cratered body in our solar system. Saturn is next. It's the 6th planet from the sun. It's the 2nd largest planet in our solar system, just under Jupiter. The atmosphere of Saturn is mostly hydrogen and helium gas, much like Jupiter. It is known for its rings, and it has 7 main ring groups that are made up of chunks of ice and rock. Saturn has 56 moons, and the biggest moon that orbits around Saturn is called Titan. Saturn takes 29 Earth years to orbit around the sun. So the next planet we're going to talk about is Uranus. Uranus is the 7th planet from the sun. The surface is an ice-cold ocean of liquid methane gas thousands of miles deep. Its atmosphere is hydrogen and helium gas. The average temperature is negative 195 degrees Celsius. That is really cold. It has 11 dark rings made of ice and rock. It has 27 moons, and it takes a whopping 84 years to orbit the sun. In the summertime, the sun does not set for 20 years. And in the winter, it's dark for over 20 years. Could you imagine? Last but not least in our solar system, our planets anyway, is Neptune. Neptune is the 8th planet from the sun. It's similar in size to Uranus with similar gases. The surface is an icy cold liquid methane that is a negative 210 degrees Celsius. That is really, really cold. Neptune has the fastest winds in the solar system, and it takes an unbelievable 164 Earth years for Neptune to orbit the sun. That is, wow, that is a long time. Neptune has 13 moons, and it's circled by 5 very faint rings. The last thing we're going to talk about today is a comet. And a comet is a ball of ice, dust, and gases that leave behind a visible trail when close enough to the sun. When a comet passes close enough to the sun, it begins to melt, leaving what looks like a tail behind it.